Hello and welcome to the Conversation Coffee Break with your host, Nadine Matheson. As always, I hope that you're well and I hope that you're enjoying your week. Now, if you're wondering what Coffee Breaks is all about, and this is your first time listening to the Coffee Break, let me explain. The Coffee Break is a brand new segment of the Conversation podcast, which will officially launch in September. But I thought, for the rest of season 3, that I will drop in a few sample coffee breaks. Now, coffee breaks are short interviews with authors about their new books. The first coffee break featured author Helen Monk-Tacker talking about her new book, The Marriage Rule. And today I'm taking a coffee break with author Rod Reynolds. Rod Reynolds is the author of the Charlie Yates series. His 2015 debut, The Dark Inside, was longlisted for the CWA New Blood Dagger, and this was followed by Black Night Falling and Cold Desert Sky. He then wrote a standalone called Blood Red City, and he now has a new series featuring Detective Casey Wray. The first book in the series was called Black Reed Bay, and the second book in the series, which is out today, is called Shatter Creek. Now, at this point of the intro, I would usually say to you, sit back or go for a walk, but instead, grab a cup of coffee or tea and enjoy your break. Rod Reynolds, welcome to the Conversation Coffee Break.
Thank you very much for having me.
Right, my first question, and I'm going to hold up your book because people can see, because this is the proof coffee that I've got, and you've got yours too. So can you tell the listeners of the Conversation Coffee Break about your new book, Shatter Creek?
Yeah, sure. So Shatter Creek is the second book in the Detective Casey Wray series. So it's set on Long Island in New York in the States, and it follows on immediately from the events of Black Reed Bay, which is the first book in the series. So in that, without giving too much details away of the plot, essentially Casey, at the end of the book, is left facing a department that's kind of riddled with corruption. She's lost some really important people to her, and she's kind of unsure about herself and her future in the department and where she's going to go. But before she has sort of any time to think about that, she's thrown into a double-homicide investigation, a really kind of brazen shooting. 2 people are killed in broad daylight in the middle of town. And initially, the police are kind of thinking, is this a mass shooting? Is it kind of going that way? And Casey, the book opens with Casey kind of in that kind of crazy situation where they're trying to work out, how many people are shooting, who's been shot, why they're shooting. And then it's just that kind of chaos. From there, a third body turns up shortly after, and suddenly it turns the case on its head. So it looks like what they're dealing with is a kind of domestic dispute here. And all signs kind of point to one person. But as the case develops, it's kind of Casey who kind of keeps picking at those loose ends. And there's a key witness that disappears and some evidence that just doesn't fit. And so Casey very quickly comes to realise that there's a lot more going on here than she realises.
Okay, well, I've got 2 questions that aren't actually on our list. I'm sorry, but
the prep questions. Come on now.
I know I gave you all the prep questions, but this question, because we both write series, and I was just wondering, how easy is it for you to return back to your characters and back to their world?
Do you know what? It's a double-edged sword, and you'll know this as well. In that, when you come to a new series or a standalone, obviously you're creating a world, so there's no rules really to work by, and that has its own challenges, but it also brings opportunities. Whereas obviously coming back to a series, you've got established characters. I mean, going beyond the kind of basics of when they were born, whether they've got a cat, all that kind of stuff. Just having to work within the constraints of their personality and their relationships with people around them, and obviously the story as it's been created, that is tricky. I would say, so this is the second series I've written. I'd say on balance, I probably prefer writing in an established universe, because it's nice to have that kind of world partially built, because you're never too constrained. As much as I'm moaning about it in the first part of the answer, you've still got the opportunity to expand that world, to change how people relate to other people, to bring in new characters. So, I would say probably I do like writing within a series as much as I enjoy that initial kind of flash of inspiration and creating a new series and a new character.
I'm writing a standalone next, and I've been planning it. And honestly, for the first day, I was like, I have no idea how to write a book. I have no idea how to tell a story, because I was so used to my world with Henry. I'm just used to it. And then I was like, what are characters?
But are you finding a groove now?
Yeah, I think I kind of had to like get out of my head and just
Yeah,
remind myself, it's still still in the crime world. You're still writing a thriller.
yeah.
There's still murder. It's like some of the rules haven't changed. So once I like had a word with myself, I got into the groove of it. But it took a while.
Honestly, there's days when I look and I don't know which way up the keyboard's supposed to go. It's literally, but as you say, you kind of get past that, and I think probably what similar to what you did, you remind yourself, I've done this before. You can do this.
Yeah,
I've done it several
exactly.
times. So you just need to pull your finger out and get on with it.
Exactly. It's like I can write a book. So Rod, what came to you first? Was it the character, a specific scene, the overall premise, or something completely different?
Obviously, because it's a second book in the series, it came from the first one. The first book was inspired by a real life series of killings. It's become a lot more famous now. This set of killings called the Long Island Serial Killer. There's a documentary on Netflix about it now, and actually, since I wrote the first book, they've subsequently found the real life killer. So that's why it's been in the news. Yeah, they did. And like all these killers, you imagine these kind of masterminds, and he turned out to be a complete idiot. Who just got away with it through the usual combination of kind of incompetence and kind of lack of interest. And because a lot of the victims were sex workers, there was kind of police just utter lack of care. But so the second book, obviously, you're building on that established character. And the idea came to me for this particular book, for the plot anyway, came from wanting to set up what looked like a very kind of structured whodunit. That then becomes in the middle, you realise actually it's not, it's a whodunit, and kind of turning that on its head halfway through. So it was almost a test to myself. I always like to try and do something different with each book, whether that's in terms of perspective or characterisation or plot. And that was kind of where I came to with this one, where I wanted to try and do something different.
I like, that's the first time I've heard of like a whodunit. I like that. No, but it's kind of good. It's a nice way to like think about your own books also.
Yeah, I guess, because there's a different challenge there, right? It's in some ways it's a lot easier to write a whodunit because you've got that built-in mystery to keep it going. When it's whodunit, you've got to build motivation and things like that, and that was quite tricky to sustain that over the first part. And then obviously you turn it on its head and you bring that midpoint kind of twist, and suddenly the book's got a whole new energy. Which, I mean, sorry, I'm getting into one of the questions you've got for later, but it kind of propels you into that second half as a writer. Which I don't know about you, but I find the middle part is always the trickiest.
Yeah, because is that around no, it's not that 20,000 mark, is it? It's probably around. Well, it depends how many words you write, to be honest. But I think the trick is it's like you're asking yourself, actually, am I actually on the right course? Is this going the way? Because I plan. Is it going the way I planned it to go? And sometimes it doesn't, and it's then kind of like trusting the writing to follow through in a different route.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so which character surprised you the most whilst writing Shatter Creek?
So this is a little bit of a spoiler, but I had an idea quite early in the writing that I wanted to. Don't laugh at me, giving away spoilers on my own book. I had the idea that I wanted to bring in. So I wrote a standalone before this series set in London, my only book set in London. And I'm quite fond of the characters from there, but I could never really find a way to bring them back into another book. So I had the idea to bring couple of those characters into this story. And originally they were just going to be like a cameo, just a kind of nod to the readers that have been with me sort of from back in the day. But actually very quickly it became obvious that I could build them into the story in quite a big way and in quite a natural way. So that was a lot of fun, bringing in characters from a completely different universe that had no connection to this story initially, and using them in this perspective. And also because they were sort of anti-hero characters, you could bring them into this without the my detective or indeed the readers that are new to this or hadn't read that book knowing which side of the line they're on. So that was quite fun to play with. Are they good guys? Are they bad guys? Are they, what they're here to do? So
did you feel a bit proud of yourself? Like, I did it. I got them back.
Honestly, it's probably the same with you. Like, I'm not sure if pride comes into it anymore. It's just like scratching that itch with writing. Do you know what I mean? It's like, thank God, the relief of like, I've been meaning to trying to do that for a long time. And I've done it. Thank God. Right. I can move on to something else now.
I did that with one of the characters. My editor wanted me. Well, I did cut cut the character from, I can't remember what
really?
book it was now. I think the first book, yeah. And I was like, I'm bringing him back. I'm going to bring, like, I was just so attached to him because he was there from the beginning. I'm like, I'm going to bring him back. And then I brought him back in a cameo and I wrote it. I was like, yes. And he makes sense in this cameo. I mean, the thing is, it's a bit silly because it's only a cameo to me. No one else knows about him. But I was just like, I did it. Yeah. So, Rod, what's the most random fact you now know because of this book?
Do you know, I had to think about this one. It's really boring, but because it's all set on Long Island, I've always gone to the places where I set my books in the past, and I was due to go to Long Island when I was writing the first one, and COVID intervened, so I was literally booked and everything to go, and so it's the only place I haven't yet been to. I mean, I've been to New York and I've been to the surrounds, but I haven't been since I've written the book. So the exact areas, I always like to just get that last kind of realism, if you like.
Yeah.
So I've obviously done an awful lot of research about Long Island, just kind of getting it in my head. You know, you spend hours on Google Maps and images and that sort of stuff. So my boring but random fact is that Long Island would be the 13th biggest, I think it is, state in America if it was its own state, and it would be the most dense in terms of population. So there you go.
Would it really?
It would, yeah, which surprised me. I don't know why. Like, I guess it was basically, they called it the first suburb in the world, I guess, because it gets all those people from Manhattan just traveling.
Yeah.
In. So, yeah.
My aunts were living in, well, half of them moved out to Florida now, but they were living in Long Island. And I think what surprised me is that I just thought it's just Long Island just being one place, just one place called Long Island. I sound so naive. One place called Long Island. But it's only when I got there that I realized, oh, it's actual counties.
Yeah,
it's like a lot of the states in America. It's lots of counties, and then collectively, it's Long Island.
Exactly the same for me. And you know, it's funny because I've got like I think it's a second cousin, or big Irish family, so we've got cousins everywhere. But we've got second cousins who live in Long Island. And when I wrote the first one, she sent me a really nice picture of her on the beach with the book, and she was saying, you know, my cousin's written a book set on Long Island. I can't wait to read it. And it was, you know, this was all over Facebook, and the family are all over it. And I'm thinking, oh God, please don't find something wrong. And I never heard from her again. So I don't know if that's a vote of confidence or if it's just busy lives. But
let's put it down to both. Let's say it's a busy life and vote of confidence, not the other one of, I can't even look at him anymore. Maybe just Okay, so was this book harder or easier to write than the last one, and why?
Probably slightly easier for what we talked about earlier, in the sense that had this kind of universe established, had the main character established, had an idea from the first book, because although you can read it as a standalone, it is obviously part of a series and there are some overriding kind of story arcs. So having that as the background, it gives you a bit of a platform to build on, doesn't it? So, probably slightly easier. I would add in that not having the first one being based on a real life set of serial killings gives you a certain kind of basis to work from, whereas this one was a completely new story. So, that adds its own challenges. But, as I say, once you've got those kind of skeleton to build on, it's a little bit easier.
Why have you set your books in the States? Because I'm thinking about the very first one you wrote, like The Dark Inside.
Yeah, I mean, that was madness. I mean, setting it in the 40s in a part. I mean, I've been to quite a lot of the States and I spent a reasonable amount of time there, but setting it in one of the places that I'd never been within like 1,000 miles of. But when you're young and stupid, you don't think about these things, do you? So I was kind of quite lucky in that sense. Why do I set it in the States? I don't know. I've always leaned a little bit more towards American culture. I guess I talk about this a bit sometimes. I grew up in London in the 80s, and it's quite a bleak place in a lot of ways. And all the TV was like, if you think about EastEnders in the 80s or something, it's so dull and grey. And then you had like Dallas and Dynasty and Knight Rider and the A-Team. You know, just look at the opening to EastEnders and you look at the opening to the A-Team. It's got robots. It's got men dumping out of a van, palm trees, beaches. It's like, this is the stuff. So I guess a bit of that, and then a lot of my big influences are American writers, so like James Elroy and James Lee Burke, people like that. I guess that's where it started, that and the combination of having everything being based on real life killings to some extent. But having said all that, I always wanted to write a book set in my hometown, and that was what I did with the first one. And I'll definitely write more in London because It's like Lifelong Londoner.
Yeah, you just have to. You have to give homage to it. That's how I feel.
Exactly that.
What's your
Because
favorite?
no one knows what London's like unless you lived here, right? It's nothing like what you see it on telly or in books, or
Exactly. That's how I feel when I write my series, because they're set in Southeast London and they're set around Greenwich and all those surrounding area. And I'm like, that's my area, and I know that. I know them little back alleys well, so I feel like I'm the right person to write about them. What's your favorite James Ellroy? Yeah, the only person. The only person. Get a little bit resentful by seeing him, like, how dare you come in my manor? What's your favourite James Ellroy?
Which is a bit mad for someone living in Surrey, but anyway.
We get very
sorry, my favourite James Ellroy is I love his run of books from the first LA Quartet and then the trilogy, the Underworld trilogy are probably my favourite sort of run of books that anyone's ever done. But my favourite is The Big Nowhere, which is the one that comes before LA Confidential. Yeah. Even though LA Confidential is better known, Big Nowhere is where he kind of gets he sort of nails his structure. He's got his three protagonists and they're all interwoven, and I think it's just so beautifully written that, and the ending is just, it's heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking.
Mine is American Tabloid. Like, that's my favourite Ellroy. And
I'm not going to argue with you on it.
Oh, it's so, but I always say that's the one that made me want to write, but then also realise you can't write like him. You just have to find your own style, find your own way, because no one does Ellroy other than Ellroy.
Totally. Have you got something in the top drawer where you tried to write Ellroy and then, this isn't working?
Yeah, for about half a minute. Like, nope.
Yeah. Same. I think I got to a paragraph.
Because I would say there's a rhythm to his writing. Like, even when you first read him, you're like, what is this? But then when you get into the rhythm of it, you're like, oh, okay.
I'm so glad you said that, because that was my exact first reaction. I actually read Cold 6000 first, but without realising it was a series.
Oh, did you?
Which is obviously the most extreme. And my reaction was exactly what you just said, like, what is this? This isn't a book. This is... I don't even know what's going on here. But of course, it's brilliant. So.
Yeah, American Tabloid was my first one, and then I had to go back and just go through everything. Yeah, that was a great one. Okay, so without giving away any spoilers, even though you nearly did, did the book end the way you originally planned, or did it surprise you too?
No, it never ends the way I think it's going to end. I'm a sort of reluctant planner. I've planned more with each book because I find it works better for me and it sort of saves you time in the long run. But I'm still not the sort of thorough planner. So I'll always have a structure in mind and a synopsis I've written and a beginning, end, and middle. But I found with every book, no matter whether I plan, don't plan, meticulously or otherwise, the ending always kind of evolves as you go through it. So the where Casey ends up at the end of the book was where I wanted it to be. But the who and the why was different, and also there's a sort of cliffhanger at the end that speaks to the larger arc of the story, and I hadn't quite envisaged where that was going to go. So that's really fun to play out with in the next one.
Yeah, I like to think I know, because I do plan. Like, I do know how the story ends, but that I say that last closing paragraph, for example, that will always change from what was in version 1. Draft 1 is not what's going to be in the final. That's probably down to my editor. She's like, no, you need something more. And I'm like, but I've got nothing. Literally.
You never find the plot changes as you get to the end, though. Like, do you ever have it where the killer is different, or how it ends?
Yeah, that happens. And I said subplots suddenly just pop out of nowhere. And I was like, I was not planning for that. But I don't mind that. Like, I don't feel like, oh my God, this has happened now. Everything's just going to collapse because this one, like a piece of thread, it's just going to unravel. I'm just like, okay, this was unexpected. Let's just see where it goes. But I think, I like that. I don't mind that at all.
I find that the most fun bit in a way, because it feels the most natural. It's when the writing's really flowing is when stuff like that happens, I find. So.
Yeah, the first time it happened, though, my response was, my computer, I looked at it and I went, oh shit. And I was like, I was not expecting that. And I just left it. Like, it happened. I'm like, this is a subplot. And because it's the first draft, I left it, carried on writing the rest of the book, got to the end and kind of solved it. And then knew when I wrote the second draft, I now have to fill in I need to, join the pieces. But I was just like, really? This is what you're doing? Okay. Okay. Rod, did you ever hit the wall when writing this book, and how did you get past it?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised you asked that in a sense, because I wanted to ask you, have you never hit the wall? You must have hit the wall.
Yeah, I've hit the wall.
With every book I get,
me.
don't you find?
Yeah, and it's just, it's weird because sometimes, you know, like when you can be in a flow and you think there are no walls, there are no obstacles. This is like a clear road I'm on, and all of a sudden it happens, and you're like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what the character's doing. Even though I have a plan, I'm not sure if this actual plot line's even working. And when that happens, I just have to walk away. And that's the best thing to do. I'm leaving you. I will come back in a day. Maybe I'll come back. I'm leaving a relationship. I'm closing the door. I'm out. I might come back.
So you're threatening your book, in other words.
Yeah, I threaten the book. You better sort yourself out. Yeah.
Unless you start cooperating. It's you, it's not me. You've got to change.
Oh my God, it's definitely you. I am not the problem here. It's definitely you. But that's the only way I can deal with it, though, is to walk away. Because the longer you stare at it and you try and fix sentences or move, it's not working. And sometimes you just have to walk away, and then it will come to you at some strange moment watching the football. And I'm like, oh!
Yeah, the washing up. I used to get it a lot when I was walking the kids to school. I'd be like, hang on a minute. Nearly walk in front of a bus or something. Like, sorry, sweetheart. Daddy's just got a bit distracted. I've just fixed the prop problem, so that's all right. Yeah, no, always hit the wall, every book at some point. But yeah, like you say.
Yeah, it happened. But you know those moments, it happened the other day when I was asked, if you have an idea in the middle of the night, like, do you write it down? And normally I'm like, no. Or I'll be like, oh, I'll remember it in the morning, and I don't. And then about 2 weeks ago, for the first time ever in my life, I woke up at 4 a.m. I went to the bathroom, and I had this problem with a story that I'm writing. And for about a year, I was trying to work out the backstory to this character, and it just came to me. And then I wrote it down in my phone, and I felt so proud of myself. I was like, 4 a.m, I've written it down. I am not forgetting this.
So hold on, has your phone got like notes with like, buy washing up liquid, go to the gym, remember this one was a serial killer as a child?
Basically. Now, but the thing, I never used to do that before, but I'm like, no, you have apps, you have things available. So you might try and use them so you don't forget.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So Rod, what are you working on next?
Book 3.
In the series?
Yeah. So I mean, it's I always say it's like homework, isn't it? You finish a book, and then what you do next one, write a book. So
yeah,
you know, it's like you stop one, you work on the next one. So, but in fairness, I've always said, whether I'm on submission or in between books, like the best thing to do is just get on with the next one. And especially if you are on submission, which I'm not, but in those times when people are, my advice to people who are doing that process is just get on with writing, because you'll just drive yourself mad if you just sort of wait. But yeah, working on book 3, which will follow on, as I say, pretty much immediately from the end of book 2. As I say, it ends on a fairly big cliffhanger in terms of the longer story. So it's picking up that, and take it from there.
How many do you have in mind for it? The series, just a trilogy, or you think it will continue beyond that?
Do you know, it's a really good question, because it's something I'm wrestling with. There's part of me that thinks wrapping it up as a trilogy would be really nice, and kind of wrapping up that. As I say, I've kind of had this slight sort of background thing of like, who's the mastermind behind it all, kind of thing.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, I'm sort of ripping off Line of Duty a little bit. You know, they're like, who's H? So you've got your series and your stories in the series, but in the background, who is H, kind of thing. So I'm sort of subtly trying to do that. So there's part of me thinks, 3 books is quite a nice way to wrap that up. But then part of me is thinking, well, it could go on and on. So I don't know, in all honesty. On the practical side, this is the last I'm contracted to for the moment. Then I guess after book 2 comes out, I speak to the publishers, see how they feel about it. I mean, it's probably the same for you. I've got ideas for a million other things that I want to write. At least 3 that are definitely quite concrete. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see, to be honest. We'll see.
Can I ask you a question that's not another one that's not on the list? Because I know you and I both did the same crime writing MA at City. So you remember that moment when they put your opening chapters in the anthology and they send it off to agents? Did you ever envision that this is where you would be? I'm not even sure how many books you are now. What's it, 6? Am I making it up?
Yeah, you're spot on. 6. This will be book 6.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I was in a slightly weird position in that I managed to get an agent before I finished the course. But that's because I had my own deadline, which was the birth of my first daughter, was right in the middle of the course. So after the first year, so I was like, right, I've got to get this thing done. So I was slightly ahead of the sort of time frame there. But
yeah,
when I look back now, when I think back about why I did the course, and I remember talking to people at the time and sort of saying, I'm not here expecting to get published because you just never think you will. But what it was, I'd taken a sabbatical a couple of years beforehand to write something, and obviously wrote a book in no time and sent it to everyone, got rejected by everyone, and that lives in the top drawer forevermore, never to be seen again. But I loved it. I loved the process so much that I kind of kicked around this idea for a couple of years. I was thinking, do I want to do this? How am I going to do this? And finally I was like, right, you've either got to do this or you've got to just shelve it. And the way to make myself do that was to take that course. And so I went into it just thinking, right, if I can just find a way to be better at this, to enjoy it, and also to make myself write this book that I wanted to write, because I already had some research and the idea for what became The Dark Inside. I was like, if I can just do that and do it well to the point where I'm happy and really kind of scratch that itch, then that's all I really want to get out of it. Yeah. So that was what I went into it for. So no, I never envisaged, sitting here sort of 10 years later with, 6 published books, another couple that have sort of sitting in the background and, everything else. But did you?
No, literally I went into it and I just thought, well, I'll do the course and I'll finish the book, because you have to write the book. And I said, if no one picks it up, I'll just self-publish it. And I'll just carry on doing what I've been doing, which is being a lawyer. I wasn't thinking of this at all. So what are we next year? It'll be 4 books in, and even like doing the pod, none of that. Wasn't thinking about it at all. Because the course happened for me by accident because I won the competition. So if I hadn't won the competition, I don't think I'd even have done the course. So it's weird. It's weird.
You talk about those moments in life where, your life just goes that way or that way. Like, just
those sliding doors moments, really, it really is.
I'm not a believer in fate or anything like that, but like, I think about the night I ended up meeting what is now my wife 20 odd years ago. I spent the whole night telling my mates to just go. I wanted to go to another bar. I was like, this bar's rubbish. Can we just leave? The whole night trying to get out of there, and finally we didn't. And then obviously I ended up, now 20 years and 2 kids and a house later. It's like, how can your whole life turn on that tiny kind of thing, But anyway,
life is a very mysterious thing. So, Rod, back to Shatter Creek. What message or feeling do you hope readers will take away from the book?
Do you know what? I really enjoy writing Casey. She's just. I always wanted her to be a lot more kind of down to earth and relatable than a lot of the kind of detectives that you get in kind of particularly like American crime fiction. I just feel like some of the tropes have been overdone, the alcoholism and the kind of self-destructive tendencies and things like that. So I just wanted her to be, she certainly got a bit of that, but it comes more from a place of lacking in self-confidence, and also the environment she's working in, which is kind of obviously quite male dominated. It's a slightly misogynistic culture there. Within the police department. And so I just really wanted to write someone who you can relate to through those struggles and through that context. So I just hope people come away from it kind of rooting for her, because I've grown really quite fond of her and I really enjoy writing her. So I put her through the mill a bit, so I'd quite like to have people on side at the end of it at least. So
it's funny, when I was coming up with the character of Henley for my series, and I remember thinking, I'm not giving her any of those tropes. She's not going to have any trauma. She's just going to have a normal, happy life, no issues. She's just doing her job. I was like, no, I need to give her something. So now she's got the annoying husband. She's got PTSD. I'm like, God. And I was trying to not have anything like that. But you do need to give them some kind of like struggle, some kind of obstacle.
I mean, this is why Casey's like, she jokes in the book that she's going to get frequent flyer miles from IA because she's just constantly being accused of like murdering other cops. So there's been a little bit of a turn away from what I wanted to, but absolutely. It's just natural, isn't it, as part of the story? But I definitely, like you, I wanted to avoid some of those really sort of overdone ideas.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so finally, Reynolds, to end our coffee break, which book, film, show, or video game do you recommend for our listeners?
Oh God. Do you know what I'm watching? This is going to be completely off base because it's not crime, but I'm actually watching 4 seasons on Netflix at the moment. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh, I haven't started it yet. Is it good? It looks
brilliant.
funny.
It's absolutely brilliant. And I think anyone watching this would appreciate this. And I think you'll appreciate it because it's just so beautifully written and characterized. I don't know about you, but as a writer, I find that if something's well done and kind of, I just really enjoy it, no matter the genre, like kind of thing. Yeah. Obviously, I lean more towards crime and thrillers, but yeah, when something's that well written, and it's not kind of laugh out loud funny, it's just quite clever and heartfelt, and the characters are so well done that I would thoroughly recommend that. Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
but I'm always looking for a recommendation if you got one.
Oh, you know what? I've been terrible at the moment because I've become that person who has everything on their watch list, and I'm like, I need to watch it. I need to watch it, and I'm just not getting around to it because I need to start Andor season 2.
Oh yeah.
Oh, but no, what I recommend to everyone, what I loved, it just comes from video games. On Prime, Amazon Prime, there's a series called Secret Level. Okay. And it's an anthology series, and they've taken it from video games, from different video games, and it's so good. It is so good. So that is what I recommend.
I've not heard that at all.
Yeah, have a watch. And only about 15 minutes long. Yeah, so they're not that long at all. You can watch it in a coffee break. Look what I did there. That leads me to say thank you so much for joining me for the coffee break.
No, thank you very much for having me again, and best of luck with the books as well.
And best of luck with Shatter Creek. And that's it for this coffee break. Thank you so much for joining me. Starting from season 4, we'll be bringing you regular coffee breaks, 20-minute episodes, perfect for a quick chat with your favourite authors about their latest books. And here's the fun part. Next season, we're answering your questions. If there's something you've always wanted to ask an author, send it in. Email your question to theconversation@nadimmmatheson.com, and we might just answer it in a future episode with a special shout out to you, of course. Until next time, keep reading, keep listening, and I'll see you soon for another coffee break. Oh, and before I forget, don't forget, subscribe, follow, like, review, and share this episode with your friends. Your support keeps the podcast growing, and if you head down to the show notes, you can also support the podcast by buying us a cup of coffee. The links are in the show notes.